Things are sort of building now to some sort of crescendo opportunity for Mr. Putin.
130,000 Russian troops amassed along more than 3,000 kilometres of shared borders.
He continues to add force capability. It's certainly not a sign that Mr. Putin has any intention to de-escalate the tensions.
Those tensions now so high, Australia has evacuated embassy staff, joining a host of other Western nations on high alert.
We have 3 remaining staff, and they have been instructed now to move, as other Five Eye countries are, to Lviv.
Overnight, US President Joe Biden held an hour-long discussion with Vladimir Putin. France and soon Germany attempting to convince the Russian president to stand down.
I call on President Putin, remove the noose from around Ukraine's neck.
The problem here is that Russia does not understand the language of diplomacy.
Russia still insisting the military is just conducting drills.
The Americans are heating up the hysteria around so-called planned Russian invasion.
Vladimir Putin doesn't bring 100,000 troops to the border of Ukraine to check out the view or to have a picnic. Something's brewing.
It's his way of saying Ukraine is much more important to me than it is to you. And if I have to, I'll resort to nuclear weapons.
US intelligence warns Russian troops could invade Ukraine as soon as Wednesday.
We're at a very dangerous juncture, and if indeed the Russians invade Ukraine, it will have reverberations far and wide.
The US and its allies sending in anti-aircraft missiles, bolstering Ukraine's ammunition supplies and threatening wide-scale sanctions in the event of an invasion.
If Moscow chooses the path of aggression, the response from the United States and our allies will be swift, it will be united, it will be severe.
We denounce Russia's bullying, their coercion, their intimidation, and their threats of violence against Ukraine.
So with the prospect of invasion now just days away, are we on the brink of another European war?
Well, Volodymyr Shalkivsky is the Ukrainian ambassador to Australia and he joins us now. Volodymyr, how are people feeling back home? Do you expect non-military Ukrainians to fight for your country?
Yes, that's correct. Of course, nobody will feel safe when you have thousands of troops just 100 kilometers from your home. I mean, I'm talking about Kyiv, capital. But we actually live under that kind of threat for years already. And this kind of feeling is constant. So you have to be prepared, you have to be ready. Ordinary people, well, they lead ordinary life, but many of them checking their hunting rifles.
Broadly speaking, Russia's main demand seems to be that Ukraine not apply to be a member of NATO, to withdraw any application and NATO not to accept Ukraine. Is that something for the sake of peace that Ukraine would consider?
Well, we are eager to have any kind of talks, negotiations, in order to avoid worst-case scenario, full-scale war. But there are certain things that no country is ready to give up. And I'd like to stress that this is not something internally created, I mean, NATO aspirations in Ukraine. Actually, Mr. Putin, Kremlin forced us to go this way in direction of NATO because Ukraine was a neutral country up until 2014 when Russia bluntly violated all international treaties, occupied our territory, and this forced population of Ukraine to think about reliable partners.
Okay, so you see why the conflict is there, right? Because even going back to 2014, Russia was saying they were concerned that America was using NATO to try to circle Russia with its troops or with allies. And so they'd already managed to get Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania to join NATO. And these are all states that are on the border with Russia. And Ukraine was next, possibly Georgia, and that's exactly why they're worried. So it sounds like you and Russia have nothing you can actually say to each other here.
It's a challenging question, yes, I agree. And especially challenging when you have to agree on things which is very important to the majority of the population. NATO membership is written in our constitution. It requires two-thirds majority to make any changes in the parliament. So we are eager to find way out, but territorial integrity, independence of our country is at stake, and we are preparing ourselves to defend it if it is needed.
All right, we'll have to leave it there, but Volodymyr, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.